FMS sent us the brand new Viper 70mm version 2. Come chat with us on Discord about it. The server invite is in the description. Check it out, YouTube. We've got the new FMS Viper 70mm version 2 15th anniversary edition, powered by a 1900 kV in-runner motor and an 80 amp ESC. Look at this beauty. It finally has, by popular demand, actual shocks and struts. I know, right? How long did it take them to get this? But it's awesome that they did. Look at how squishy that nose wheel is. Like, you're not gonna have any issues with this plane getting, you know, messed up from landings, but it will bounce, and I'll show you guys how to avoid bouncing it. It is a very tricky plane to land, but this is a great plane for beginners to learn how to transition into jets. It has so many great characteristics to teach you how to fly. It is a true trainer. It'll teach you how to get out of stalls. It'll teach you how to get into stalls. It'll teach you how to flare, all sorts of cool stuff. And especially, and most critically, is getting the right approach path, because a lot of people make the mistake of bringing this thing in with power and it just floats on forever. But if you bring it in unpowered, just kind of let the nose drop and then level out for a bit and then try to flare it and settle it down, it'll drop on the mains and it will barely bounce, if at all. So it's a solid trainer to fly with for sure, and I love it. This is being powered by a 3600 SMC high voltage pack with a 5280RC afterburner unit, TrueFire LED put in the tail, and it's being powered off of the battery balance lead. You guys should definitely pick up some SMC packs and some 5280 burners for this jet. It looks fantastic in the sky. We're gonna go ahead and cut to it, put it on the ground, and I'll give you guys a quick overview of ground handling, flap settings, and AS3X settings. All right, before we go ahead and get up, I wanna show you guys my flap settings and show you guys the ground handling. So we're in half flaps right now. Ground handling's pretty good, just like a normal Viper. Pretty easy to rotate around. You'll notice I have very little flap on my flap setting. I'm using 150% rates up for the flaps and 100% rates down for the flaps. The flaps tuck in -100% like this, and then -65% so that the flaps actually come out to -97%, with -2% elevator so that they pull up ever so slightly like that. And then on full flaps for landing, it's -40% and -3% for the elevator. It's actually very, very good. I found that this plane likes to bounce with too much flap. Flap and this plane do not really agree with one another. We're gonna go ahead and get her lined up. I'll give you my AS3X settings before we fly so you know what to expect with it and how to make it fly like mine's flying. All right, get her throttle cut. Go to the forward programming. Under AS3X gyro settings, we are flying with 2x gain sensitivity, 30 roll, 45 pitch, and 10% yaw on a curved mix that controls, like throttle controls the amount of gain. If you guys are curious about that, other setup videos have gone into the process. It's pretty simple. All it means is the more throttle you apply, the less gain there is. All right, let's get her up. 3600 SMC pack and a 5280 burner in the tail. Very agile little jet. It's even more agile on the 3600. We are unfortunately on a day where it's really windy. As you can kind of tell by those high-level cirrus clouds, some of that wind has come down low here where we are, and it has made it challenging to fly. So the plane is slightly nose heavy because I shoved the 3600 as far forward as it could go. On days like this with a ton of wind, I prefer nose heaviness. That's the reason being is it makes the plane more stable in the sky, makes it easier to control and fly. So let me show you guys how to land it real quick. You're gonna go ahead and chop throttle all the way back, bring in the flaps, let the plane begin to level out. As it starts to level out, hold it back. And as it gets lower to the ground, pull the elevator back just gently. There we go. My wife got stuck in the camera there. I couldn't actually see which direction it was going for a moment, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and do another quick landing with it just to show you guys what to do, get the gear out. This jet does stall rather violently. If it gets too slow and you pull the elevator, it will drop a wing, and if it does that on the ground, it's gonna scrape. Generally speaking, you wanna start off lower than this, so about right here is where you'd wanna be into the pattern to land. Keep it level like this, keep it tracking straight. Start pulling the elevator back. See how it lands gently like that without any kind of floating or without any kind of bouncing. That is because I reduced the flap settings. I realized in the wind, especially, it starts getting caught with the flaps out, and it just picks the plane up and drops it, and it picks it up and drops it again because the plane's not ready to land yet. So Go ahead and chop throttle about here, keep the nose pointed down so you trade airspeed for, or like altitude for airspeed rather. If it starts to flatten out too much, you can add a little bit of throttle to keep it going, like right now. Okay, get ready to chop as it starts to level out. Throttle all the way back. Look at that. It's super easy to land with that advice that I'm giving you guys. I'm gonna do it one more time to give you some ideas of how to land it, especially for you beginners. So the best way to enter it is to show you how to do it. So we're gonna go starting here about this height, right above the trees. Drop the gear, right about here, drop full flaps, rotate in with a little bit of thrust, keep the nose pointed towards you, toward the ground, and towards you with rudder. As it levels out, add a little bit of throttle, keep it pulled, not too much. Just kind of let it come in nice and gentle. And as it gets close to the ground, chop, and then hold the flare. And then there you go. Very easy to land. Now, enough of the landing, a quick tutorial on that. Knife edge is great. Literally almost one-handed there. You can go up and you can go sticks inward to flip and tumble a little bit. If it wasn't so windy, it would probably look better as it does these straight passes, but it's getting hit by some mechanical turbulence. I don't want to get too low to the ground. There is some shear that it's encountering. If it's too low to the ground and that shear pushes it down, we're going to wreck the jet. And while it would look cool, FMS wants this thing reviewed for you guys. They don't want it to be broken. So I'm going to do my best to be cool with it and have fun, but at the same time not break it. So we're going to do a nice low pass, about as low as I feel comfortable. Man, those sticks to the top left, by the way, full throttle. For a second there, I thought it actually damaged something on the plane, but it just got caught by a little bit of gust of wind. I'm gonna bring it in for another quick touch and go. Check our throttle. 22.72 battery settings, that is. Battery level, that is. It's tough to fly and talk. If I sound weird, that's why. Chopping the throttle, keeping it nice and glided in here. Starting to pull back. If it starts to bounce, you can always just go around. So we'll make this the, intro to flying a beginner level jet for you guys. You can see some of the cool stuff you can do with it. We'll get even more balls to the walls with it in a little bit. But for right now, I want those of you guys who are especially beginners or you want to just know how to land a jet a little bit better, this is the technique with this one especially. Just drop it, let it flare in, not flare in, but gently come in. I screwed that one up a little bit, but it doesn't always have to be perfect. The idea is that you just learn and improve and keep getting better over time as you continue to work on your skills. The new gear make a big difference in how the plane lands for sure. It doesn't bounce anywhere near as much as it used to, but the reason why it's not bouncing as much, doing that dreaded bucking Bronco technique that it used to do is because I'm just landing it correctly for the most part. Just like this. Get that airspeed bled down so when you do settle on the mains, it isn't still flying. That's the #1 cause of bouncing a plane, is because it's still flying. If it's not flying, it can't generate lift and it can't go back into the air. We're actually going to land with a tailwind right now. I'm kind of... it's a very light one. We'll be okay. Again, same technique as always. Keep the nose pointed down and into the turn so it's coordinated. Level it out. Hold it a little bit so you bleed off energy. And then there you go. This plane will teach you how to fly a jet. If you want to get into bigger jets, this has always been my recommendation for people to learn how to fly bigger jets because it will teach you how to do stall recovery and all sorts of other cool stuff. And that's one thing we're going to actually show you guys next, is how to get out of stalls, because you are going to experience them with this jet. If you don't experience them with this jet, you don't have very high throws, or you don't have it set up for being aggressive at all. Like if you get the CG far enough back and you pull the elevator, it'll stall almost at any airspeed. It's crazy how touchy it can be. All right, guys, so we're back. We're running another 3600 SMC pack in here. However, this one's moved back from the front. It was up here, now it's back here. The reason why we're doing that is with the 150% throws that I'm using, I want to go ahead and trigger some high-speed stalls with this thing, otherwise known as accelerated stalls, because if you aren't aware, an airplane can stall at any attitude and under any airspeed. It doesn't matter if it's straight and level, you lose enough airspeed, it will eventually stall. If you are under high speeds and you pull that elevator too hard, you're going to break the airflow over a wing. All that requires, or that is required for a stall, is to break airflow over a wing. You do it at any airspeed, it doesn't matter. You go fast enough and you pull too hard, one of these wings will lose airflow and it'll roll on its own. So I'm going to show you that and how to get out of it and what to expect. So we're gonna go ahead and get her lined up for takeoff right here. Now, because the center of gravity that I'm using is a little bit more touchy and closer to neutral, we're gonna see hopefully some violent stalls, but we're gonna do them nice and high with the cloud cover so you'll be able to see what it's up to. All right, getting up nice and high, turn the voltage on. We're just gonna go pull. See how it starts to roll on its own? This is only back elevator pressure. That is a stall. How do you stop an airplane from stalling? Well, the easiest way to do it is to stop making it stall, and that's caused, or that's rectified by not pulling the elevator as much. So watch when we go up and I pull the elevator. See how this is me just literally holding the elevator stick. If you let go of the stick and let the airplane begin to fly again and generate airspeed, then it will stop stalling. That's the only thing that causes a stall, is lack of airspeed and pulling the elevator too much. That's why when you're in a banked turn, most people see this when they come into land. They got their flaps and everything out and the wing is aggressively biting into the air and it's going nice and slow. They're not keeping their airspeed up. They're pulling that elevator. All of a sudden, oh crap, the plane starts to roll down and there it goes, drops the wing. It happens especially with flaps out. And the ultimate way to fix that is to let the nose drop. Don't keep pulling the elevator, because if you do that, it's just going to aggravate it. So let's go up and do that a little bit more. Get it in landing configuration. We're going to bank into the turn, and we're just going to let it be uncoordinated and just pull the elevator. Oh no, I'm starting to stall. That right there is what people often see. Imagine that was ground right below it. The plane would have crashed and it would have been in a bunch of foam pieces that you might have been able to repair. But really all it is pulling the elevator too much. When you have a banked turn, you have to keep your airspeed up, and it's a exponential thing. You have to keep ever more increasing amounts of airspeed up to continue doing banked turns like this. See how I've got like 3/4 throttle, and that's why I can do this. But if I let go of the throttle a bit, now it's going to begin to stall right there. That roll was a stall. So how does that translate into landing a jet for you newcomers? Well, really, it just means be light with your elevator pressure, especially when you're banking the plane. As your bank angle increases and you sustain that bank angle with your elevator, what ends up happening is you have to increase the airspeed to maintain it. So how does that work for bringing the plane in? Well, I'll give you an idea. This is why you trade altitude for airspeed. You drop the gear, okay? You rotate the plane left, you go full flaps. Do not let the nose point out of the turn. You point it into the turn with left rudder right now to keep the plane pointed at you and the ground. And then you just chop the throttle, let the plane fly in as you push the nose down. It's not going to just randomly stall out of the sky. And then just hold the elevator ever so gently. Get some airspeed with throttle and take off again. That's all you have to do. That is the fundamental of landing most jets. Now, not all jets are the same. Jets with delta wings like F-16s, Rafales, Eurofighters, you have to bring those up nose high, high alpha, and then hold them in with throttle so they stay like that. This jet, however, on a day with a lot of wind, like what we're getting right now with about a 20-mile-an-hour gust behind me, I'm going to bring it in without any flaps. And I'm going to do that without, giving it any airspeed. There we go. Not airspeed, but throttle. With enough airspeed coming from the wind, you can just let it glide in and it will come in no problem at all. There is extra drag, of course, the more airspeed you have, but generally speaking, it'll just keep flying and it's happy to do so. We'll do a couple more circuits with this and help give you guys some ideas, but generally speaking, this is how I land most of my jets. Kind of come in like this, keep that nose pointed at me with the rudder, keeping it pointed down at the ground to trade altitude for airspeed, and then just pushing the nose down gently until it's time to level out. We're starting to level out right now. Whoop, a little too low. If you feel like you have to arrest the sink rate, you can use throttle. And then you can bring it in. It's very forgiving, but if you get that CG far enough back, bad things happen when you pull that elevator and it's too slow. It would have started to scrape the wings. Thankfully, I brought gray electrical tape that is actually almost the exact same color as the wingtips, so if I did scrape them, I could just fix it out here. One more time for our landing tutorial. You can't see my hands, but just listen to what I'm telling you. Push the nose around with rudder, keep it pointed down toward the ground, low to no throttle, okay? Don't be afraid of it, it's not gonna drop out of the sky. Keep the nose pushed down, so it's generating airspeed. As it gets lower, hold the elevator a little bit, start to bring it in. If it starts to slow down, add a little bit of throttle, settle it in on the mains with some elevator pressure, and you're good to go. That's all there is to it. So now that you guys know how to handle a beginner's trainer like this, and you know what causes stalls, and you know how to get out of them, now it's time for us to show you what you can really do with this jet. So now you guys have seen how to land it, how to get out of the stalls. Now let's see how to have some fun with it and what it's capable of. Here we go. Same battery placement as before, actually a little slightly further back because I want it to be a little bit more aggressive, although we are getting into some serious wind right now. So if this plane gets into an accelerated stall nice and low, it's gonna be boned, but that's okay. You can choose what direction or what winds you want to fly in. You don't have to fly in crazy wind if you don't want to. Okay, that was too much turbulence for me. I'm noping out of that. I was gonna do a gear pass, but when it started, I had to push the stick 3/4 of the way up to keep it level, and then on top of that, it's getting wing rocked. No, thank you. That was a nice loop, very oval shaped. Let's give it a nice high-speed knife edge pass. Let's see if it'll do that well. Not a problem. It's very touchy. I actually reduced my expo. I'm running like 30% expo for a change, and I don't normally do that. Let's get a long, straight, and level pass coming right up there. Yep. Gotta let my wife know what I'm planning to do. She's still learning the filming game, but she's doing really good. Very agile little plane. Even on this 3600 pack, it's not getting high G stalls as much as I thought it would, accelerated stalls. I'm very happy about that. I'm gonna try to go down the taxiway, but with the wind shifting the way it is, I don't wanna run the risk of hitting her or me. Mostly her. I can take a hit. All right. Love doing the sticks top inward, like both sticks in at the top, throttle up and right rudder and left aileron and full down the elevator. Causes to flip out and do some cool stuff like that. Let's see how it handles inverted again. Yeah, it was weird with the gear out. It's better with them in. Good gosh, imagine being in that jet right now. You'd be in a red out. That's how crazy that is. Let's go up and do a quick tail slide. Oh, very, very graceful. Bounce from tree to tree. Not being as aggressive as I would be, I would normally get it a little lower, but the winds are really sketching me out. Being very careful not to break that airflow over the wing.
3 minutes.
How much power we got? 23.04 volts at half throttle is not half bad, guys. There we go. That was cool. I think they call that like a half avalanche. You go up into a roll and then you tumble it. That's cool. Some of these other maneuvers I want to get into. I need to like stop being so reserved with my flying. I know I can do this. I just have to make sure that I'm not going to wreck the plane.
21.97 volts.
Snap rolls are insane with this thing too. Snap rolls, for those of you guys who are new, especially if you're looking at this jet, you probably are, you know, chances are you're a newer pilot because it's designed for newer pilots. Snap rolls are back elevator, left aileron, and left rudder, or right rudder and right aileron and back elevator. The point is that you just make the plane roll violently. Looks super cool when you do that. Just like this. Kind of makes it tumble almost. All right, let's do a quick gear pass and then bring it in.
Gear down.
Alrighty. Same technique as before. We're gonna go ahead and bring the flaps out as we begin to bank. Use left rudder to bring the plane in. Keep the nose pointed to the ground. There we go. So it's a coordinated turn. Wasn't the most coordinated I've ever done it, but it's good. A little bit of throttle since we're in some wind right now. Otherwise, I would let it just glide. It's coming in very slow. Being very careful here. I definitely feel that half flaps, the way, or the full flaps, the way I've got them set up, is the way to fly this jet. If you have too many flap setting, if the flaps are too extended, the plane flies like crap when it comes in and it just bounces. More flap is not always the answer, for sure. I mean, that touchdown was probably hands down the best Viper landing I think I've ever done. And that's just because it took me until today to realize that basically I was just giving it way too much flap and it's getting caught by the air, picked up and slammed into the ground. So let's go over it again real quick. Look at these suspension gear. Absolutely phenomenal. If we wanted to fly this off grass and that grass wasn't as thick as it is, I think we would actually be able to get it up no problem. But because it's so thick, I don't even want to attempt it. I'm going to tear the plane up trying. We do have foam hinges across the board. That is unfortunate, but to be expected for a 70mm model. Foam hinges meaning that there's no plastic reinforcement, so they will eventually tear and degrade. You can repair that. It's real easy. At some point, I'll probably teach you guys how to do it if you don't know already. There's plenty of space in this battery compartment for a 3600 or a 4400 pack. I did do a little bit of 4400 flying because I figured the extra wing loading, aka the amount of weight the wing was going to carry, would be great for windy days like this, and it was, but it also took a lot longer to slow down in the air, so there's trade-offs for that. Plenty of throw, plenty of responsiveness. This actually feels like they changed the design ever so slightly because I don't remember it being as nimble as this one, and I don't remember it being as unlikely to stall as this one. I really had to go out of my way to stall this one, but I'm glad I was able to show you guys how to get out of it because, you know, stalls are one of the #1 ways people wreck their planes. But again, look at these suspension retracts, trailing links, super good. Forward link on this one, whatever that's called. The wheels are not great. They're FMS standard plastic wheels. They do have a little bit of a squish to them. I guess I would call them like really hard rubber or plasticized rubber. Overall, it's awesome. I love it. This is a solid beginner's plane. And for people who like aerobatics and jets, it's hard to say this thing isn't a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it's just really just too good. Where could it be better? I want less foam hinges, fewer foam hinges. For the price point of these models, I think we should be coming out with hinges that are plastic. So I'm unfortunate that it's hinged with foam, but it's kind of par for the course. I just wish that course would change and the new par would be like actual plastic hinges and everything. It would be much better for durability's sake, and it would be less maintenance for you to do too. Overall, aside from that, the stall characteristics are actually really good. A lot of people don't like Vipers because they stall so hard, but that's one of the reasons why I recommend them to people, so you learn how to handle them, because everything's going to stall eventually, and you don't want to stall an expensive jet into the ground. You want to know how to get out of that, and this plane will teach you. And if you follow that guide I had earlier, is hopefully if I was coherent through all of it, then you'll understand what to do and how to, you know, save your jets from being wrecked. And as you've seen, this thing will come in for a nice touchdown just like this on the mains, and it doesn't bounce as long as you don't come in at high speed. Make sure to follow the flap settings that I use. Just if you can't get the exact settings just right, just don't make them jump out too far. Like maybe this far is all you need. Or I'll show you guys again what the flap settings look like. This is full flaps. That is all I used. That is the extent of which the flaps dropped, and that's half flaps. It's almost like it's not even there, but you don't need a whole lot. You just need to help it generate a little bit of lift, but mostly some drag to help get it down. So again, 9.5 out of 10. Love the plane, love that FMS sent it to us to review. 15th anniversary edition. We learned on this airframe, and I'm happy to share some of those share some of those nuggets of wisdom with you guys so that you can learn from our mistakes and our experiences and hopefully save some of your planes. See you guys in the B-roll section and let us know what you think in the comments.
While almost every aspect of the Viper was improved, it still has squirrely ground handling and requires smooth, slow throttle application to keep from wiggling down the runway. This is much less noticeable on grass, but unfortunately it's very significant on pavement. That characteristic Viper bounce doesn't have to be this way. You can land this jet bounce free by following our landing tutorial from earlier in the vid and follow the flap setup. The too long didn't read or didn't watch is that too much flap causes the Viper to bite into the air and keep being lifted and dropped, creating the bounce that so many pilots are familiar with. Avoid the bounce by flying a shallow descent path and chopping throttle, then flaring it gently on the mains. With practice, it does become second nature, and the jet looks fantastic while doing it. The Viper is a solid choice for new pilots, and experienced pilots will enjoy this updated model with better gear and overall better flying characteristics. It's still tricky to land, but that's part of the challenge and the fun. Pick up one of these jets from the link in the description. You can save 10% off once with the code TwobrosRC, or you can save $15 off with an order over $100 using this code TwobrosRC. Purchasing from our links helps support us and the crazy shenanigans we get up to at this channel. Thanks to everyone who supported us, and we look forward to seeing you next time for a new upload.